Hey everybody, welcome to the reviewing every episode of Ultimate Spider-Man podcast. I don't know if you see, it's too long of a name, but I don't know if I should name it. But like, if I name it, then Ultimate Spider-Man isn't in the title, so I'm not getting like the, the attention that I would want to get for an Ultimate Spider-Man podcast if I name it something. Like if we called ourselves like the Webhead Weekly podcast or some gay shit like that, like it wouldn't. It'd be hard. So I don't know what this is called yet. We're doing this impromptu first episode.
I would
Um,
say for the podcast title, because I was thinking about this for no reason at all. But what if we just did or called it the Ultimate Webhead Podcast? Like that would work, I would think.
mm, I'll think about it. We'll think about it. This is
Yeah, we'll
right
we'll come up
now.
with a name
The
later.
working title right now is this is the I review every episode of Ultimate Spider-Man podcast.
That I review on every episode of Ultimate
Well, I
Spider-Man.
guess but my only worry with that is the YouTube title character limit. But
Yeah,
I guess the Spider-Man episode titles aren't that long. So
no,
if
they're
it's called
not.
so if it's called the I review every episode of of Ultimate Spider-Man podcast episode 1 and then it's just great power. Like I don't think the titles get long enough. We'll see. We'll see. I'll workshop it.
Well, some of the like multi-parters do, but I assume we'd cover all of the multi-parters at once, right? If this survives to
We'll
season
cross that bridge.
if this survives to season three, we're just gonna do all of the multi-parters at once.
Yeah, man, we'll probably want to get through it faster at that point. I doubt we'll even make it halfway through the first season. I'm gonna be real with you, but we're gonna do it
We're gonna
right
try.
now.
Yeah, we're doing episode one right
So
now.
I'm so curious. I've always been so. This show has always been such a strange beast. This show is like a fucking cryptid. This cartoon Disney XD program is like a fucking cryptid to me. Okay, I kind of saw it a little bit as a kid, but not really, because as a kid I didn't really like Spider-Man. I started to like Spider-Man when I saw Avengers: Infinity War. That's what got me into Spider-Man. Before that, I never really got him. So I kind of like would catch Ultimate Spider-Man, but I didn't really care. So I didn't really get a lot of like the read for the show back then. And then it kind of became this like laughing stock where like people were talking about it and they're acting like it's the worst thing that's ever made. And I'm like, okay, I just remember this being like a normal Spider-Man show. So like, what's so insane about it? So I was very curious. I rewatched like the first like 3 episodes when Disney Plus first came out. Like they dropped Disney Plus and I was like, you know what? I should rewatch Ultimate Spider-Man. And I remember I got 3 episodes in and I thought it was really boring. So
Oh my
we'll see
god.
what happens. This first episode though, not really boring, I would say.
So I'm gonna explain some of my opinions on Spider-Man because I've grown up since I was like three. I've loved Spider-Man.
Oh,
Okay.
real quick, because I didn't really go over my Spider-Man opinions in general as a whole. I just said that I saw Ultimate Spider-Man as a kid, but I didn't grab onto that one. Then I saw Infinity War, and Tom Holland's portrayal got me interested in the character, and then from there I pursued other media, and now I'm a big Spider-Man fan. I really like Spectacular Spider-Man. I think is excellent, and I'm probably going to draw a lot of parallels because Spectacular Spider-Man to me is like the perfect
The
Spider-Man
best. Yeah.
cartoon in every way.
Yeah.
And so I'll probably draw a lot of comparisons. And the Tom Holland movies I really like. And I'm starting to like see snippets of the comics that I'm like, this is fucking awesome. This
Yeah.
character work is fucking sick. So I kind of want to start reading comics.
Do it. Start with Spider-Man. That's a perfect spot to start. Um,
Oh, okay. I got confused. I thought you meant like a run that's just called Spider-Man.
no, just start with any Spider-Man comic. It doesn't
I
matter.
was talking about
Everybody,
Spider-Man comics, and I'm not talking about getting into all the comics. I was talking
I
about specifically Spider-Man.
I know. I'm saying just read any of the Spider-Man runs.
I've always been particularly intrigued by the Ultimate Spider-Man comic run, but I know
No.
there's a certain event that happens eventually that I know will upset me. So maybe not
It
that
happens
one.
immediately. The
No,
Ultimate
it's
Spider-Man's
not what you're
run.
thinking of.
Are you talking about Peter's death?
Okay, well, I was trying not to spoil it, but yes.
This comics series has been out for fucking
No, you're right. You're right.
ever.
I'm being gay.
Yeah, you are. But yeah, no, that happens immediately because the entirety of the Ultimate Spider-Man's like run is about Miles.
No,
Miles is
is there two Ultimate Spider? What is the Ultimate Spider-Man run where Peter's like a really young guy, and it's the one they made the PlayStation 2 game based off of.
I don't
Like
think that's Ultimate Spider-Man.
the game is called Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yeah, the game was called Ultimate Spider-Man, but I don't think that run was Ultimate Spider-Man.
I'm gonna Google how many chapters of Ultimate Spider-Man star Peter Parker because I feel like it's probably like 100.
Because because this show's been out for so long and I know I've seen the entirety of the show.
If Spider-Man, do not tell me whether Spider-Man dies at the end of this
I'm not
show.
going to tell you whether he dies or not. I'm just going to say that there's an Ultimate Green Goblin, and that's about it. That's about all you're getting out of me. And Miles does show up, but for different reasons. Basically, they do a Spider-Verse, if that makes sense. And it's like my favorite Spider-Verse aside from like the movies. And anyway, I'm gonna go into why I like this show and why I like Spider-Man as a whole real quick because you got to do that and I haven't yet.
Yeah, hold on. I'm doing some stuff.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do this while you're doing that. Okay.
Okay.
So I grew up on Spider-Man almost entirely. I've been watching Spider-Man since I was like 3. I started with Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 1 and 2. I was obsessed with those. I grew up watching Spectacular Spider-Man. I watched this show for so long as a kid. And this was my favorite Spider-Man show for the longest time. But that was just because I only caught like the last bit of Spectacular Spider-Man and I hadn't seen very much of it. Since then, I've gone back and rewatched Spectacular Spider-Man. I love Spectacular Spider-Man. It is much better than this show, but I still love this show. Um, and then like I've loved fucking Peter Parker as a character my whole life, just about. Just about every iteration of Spider-Man I have fallen in love with in one way or another. And I love it. This show grabs me for reasons other than Peter Parker.
Okay,
Specifically.
real quick to be clear. Ultimate Spider-Man is about Peter Parker for its first 160 chapters.
The fuck?
Yeah, so
Where the fuck did I start then?
I don't know.
Because, like, okay, even if you go into, like, fucking. Okay. Even if you go into Spider-Verse, that still only has, like, Peter's death and then Miles is there. Because Miles is
A lot
the
of
Ultimate
Ultimate
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man is like young, like high school shenanigans Peter. Like he's
I
one of the
remember
youngest starting Peters.
I remember none of that. Now, granted, I probably started at
I
a
think
weird
you
point.
started in a weird play. Okay, here's what might have happened. It still doesn't make sense because Peter still didn't die until later than this. But if I'm reading this article correctly, they decided to like be like, this is volume 2 and start the chapters back from 1.
Yeah.
And then at some point they decided to renege on that and went back to the original numbers.
Yeah,
So
because.
there was briefly a run that was Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 2, but that whole run was still about Peter Parker.
No, that's not what I read. Because what I read was, like, the start of Miles with the Ultimates.
Okay, so that would have been after the story arc The Death of Spider-Man, which was between chapters 156 and 160.
That's fucking weird as shit that that's where I started. Now, granted, I didn't look at a lot of comic numbers when I was first starting out. I just read what I had.
Yeah, so
Because
you probably just had a random one off a shelf and it was like,
it wasn't even off of a shelf. This was on the fucking flash drive.
yeah, just like a random, yeah.
No, I've told you about this flash drive because this flash drive is super fucking important to me in particular.
Did you have you had a flash drive full of comics?
Yeah, the one for my like fifth grade gym teacher.
I don't remember this shit. That's
I
cool
told
though.
about this because this was during the when we did the DC Comics episode on the Issue Crew. When I was telling, or when we were talking about how I got into comics.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that I don't remember that, but I believe you.
But I went back and rewatched that episode recently, by the way.
That's funny.
So that's fresh on my mind. I know I told you about it. But so my fifth grade year, I had like the coolest gym teacher imaginable, or like assistant gym teacher imaginable. He'd bring in like a Wii U and like a Nintendo Wii, and people would go in there and play video games sometimes, and because we had like a separate room where we could go do that away from like the main gym that was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
most of the time. So people could sit in a dark room and play video games with the assistant gym coach, and then me and him would talk about like superheroes and shit because I was a fifth grader and I was obsessed with superheroes. And this is where I got started on Green Lantern, I got started on Spider-Man, and I got started on like my first interactions with Bart Allen aside from Young Justice. And like one or two Green Lantern comics. And
Kind of like Spider-Man was kind of my gateway drug into comics at all. I'm so like surface level on comics, but like I wasn't even really into American superheroes until I saw Avengers Infinity War. And really a lot of that work was Spider-Man. Like I really glommed on to Tom Holland's Spider-Man in Infinity War. And as I got more and more into Spider-Man, that just kind of got me into superheroes in general. So now I'm like kind of a comic-y guy and I'm more interested. I had seen a couple MCU movies, but now I'm more interested in the Marvel and DC universes than I used to be.
yeah.
And
And
that work was kind of started by Spider-Man.
you and I have kind of like the complete opposite like starting points, I would think.
Yeah.
Because you start with the most recent Spider-Man. I started with the first Spider-Man.
And also,
Kind of
you connected with Spider-Man when you were like a little
3.
kid, and I connected
Yeah,
with Spider-Man when I was like 15 or some shit. When did Infinity War come out? 2017.
I think. No. Fuck, when did Infinity War come out?
I had one connection to Spider-Man as a child. I've always liked his design. I never cared about consuming Spider-Man stories, but what I did have as a kid was a plate that had Spider-Man on it. And I loved that plate for some reason. I just thought
That's
Spider-Man looked
amazing.
cool on that plate that I had, so I cherished that plate deeply, and I had it for many years.
I'm
And then
gonna
as
see if I
a
can
kid,
find this plate.
it
And
was it was Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man specifically. I remember that suit was on the plate.
also, Infinity War came out in 2018, so you were close.
I was 16. I was 16 at the time. So yeah, I had a little bit of a connection with Spider-Man, but I didn't really care about him. I had seen one of the Tobey Maguire movies. I had seen Ultimate Spider-Man, but I never really got it until Tom Holland.
Yeah, I can.
And then I went back and enjoyed Tobey Maguire. So it was just like I just wasn't ready, I guess.
Yeah, I get that. And like, oh, I just realized Spider-Man was kind of like my first trauma character
Eh,
because I got into Spider-Man like right after my granddad died,
oof.
and I'm just like, wait, why do I associate so much with this dude? And that finally clicked in just a second ago. And I'm like, holy shit!
Damn, he just like me for real.
It's like okay, because the best way that I
I
can
don't
put
mean
it
to be
is,
insensitive when I say
I
that.
know, I know, but I get, but like what I'm getting at is like, so it was less about Spider-Man initially, I think, and more so about Uncle Ben. Because, Uncle Ben in the Tobey Maguire movies looked like his granddad more so than his uncle, at least to a 3-year-old. And that just kind of was like, huh, I like this guy. You get
Relate
what I
to his
mean?
struggles. Yeah.
Like, yeah. And Spider-Man stuck around. So I very
I
much like
think
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, like, I prefer Spider-Man as youthful. So, like, it took a youthful Spider-Man for me to get it. and like I could go back and enjoy more mature Spider-Mans. But like it took like the youthful vigor of a young, like very quippy and energetic Spider-Man to like be like, oh, so that's what Spider-Man is.
Yeah, I can get that. I can understand that, and I've
I'm
always been
surprised
into like
this didn't do that for me because this
I
guy's
am
very
too.
energetic.
Yeah, he's fucking amazing.
Maybe
He
too
is.
much, which is why it didn't. We should talk about the show.
Yeah, we should get to talking about the show instead of just Spider-Man as a whole.
What is this episode called and when did it come out? Which is something I didn't tell you to pull up, but you're gonna right now.
It's called Great Power.
Yeah, I know that. Great Power. It's the name of the episode.
Fuck. I'm looking for the date. It came out on April 1st, 2012. Was written by Paul
Wow. They had no confidence in this show, I guess. They wanted to, if people hated it enough, they wanted the opportunity to say that it was a prank.
Yeah. It was written by Paul Dini and directed by Alex Soto and Tim Eldred.
Yeah.
And I love this as a first episode of the Spider-Man show. I love this so much.
I wouldn't
Like,
say I feel like I love this so much might be overselling it a tad. I do think it was really good.
but okay, here's my thing with it. Okay? It's not one of those that hits you over the head with the, Spider-Man origin story as much as, Andrews and Toby's does. Which I get why they did those, but like this is like the perfect balance between not showing but also giving us the information of
And
his
Tom
origin.
Holland too didn't even have an Uncle Ben
Yeah,
for whatever reason.
yeah. You get what I mean? And that's part of why I don't like Tom Holland. That's like why
Well,
he's
I like when they change. I'm fine with them changing little things for adaptations, just to be different. So I don't mind that that Peter's Ben is May instead.
yeah, I don't mind that as much, but then there's also that doesn't feel like Peter Parker in the same way that, this Spectacular Spider-Man, Toby and
The
Andrew
Tom Holland
feel.
movies, I think, are actually brilliant. You have to view them in a certain lens. Here's the
Yeah,
lens, right?
I I like them. I don't get me
No,
wrong,
no,
I
no,
like
no.
them.
But here's the lens that makes them genius. Okay, this is how they wrap things up, and it depends if they make more Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, which they said they were going to, but Tom Holland's kind of being like cagey about it, so it's kind of concerning. But assuming they make another Tom Holland trilogy, like they said they were going to, what these three movies did is, they introduced this kid because they didn't have the rights to make their own Spider-Man movies. They could only put Spider-Man in Avengers, and they're like, shit, we gotta put Spider-Man in Avengers because that'll sell more tickets. So they created this Spider-Man that was not an individual character because they could only put him in group settings.
Yeah.
And then they got the rights to do movies, and they're like, okay, so we already casted the guy. He kind of already has this pre-established personality and lore about him. So what the story they ended up telling is a compelling superhero story that's not necessarily Spider-Man in every way, but you can see the seeds of Spider-Man and those character traits being like woven within Peter. And the big reset at the end of No Way Home, that's basically him becoming more like the Peter we know. Like
Yeah, and
they're setting it up so that this next trilogy is going to be much more Spider-Man than the first. And I think it's really interesting how they handled it. And I think they ended up making really good movies. I think Spider-Man Homecoming is my favorite Spider-Man movie and one of
yeah,
my favorite movies of all
I can
time.
understand that. And I do like where they're headed for the most part. But here's my thing. Here's where I'm just kind of middle grounding with the Tom Holland stuff because yes, I like him, but do I like him more than, the established Spider-Man that I, started with for the most part on with the origin and with him being like Spider-Man all the way through. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like Tom is good, don't get me wrong, but he will likely never be my favorite Spider-Man
I
strictly
think I don't
for
even, Tom is not my favorite Spider-Man. Honestly, Tom I think is third place at this point. he's first place in live action, but if voice actors count, Josh Keaton and Yuri Lowenthal both have him beat.
Yeah, obviously. But in live
And
action, he's like my
this
third.
one, questionable. We'll see.
This one's questionable. But like,
This one's a questionable guy. We do have to go over the voice cast. We're not going to talk about their personal lives. I'll just put that out there. One of them in
yeah,
particular has become a controversial figure. This is
yeah,
not the
he
focus
has.
of this show.
But we're here to talk about Spider-Man, and let me
That's
be
right.
upset because fuck.
That's right.
But like, I love Tom as a. I love what they are doing with Tom, but that doesn't necessarily feel like Peter to me, if that makes sense. It doesn't feel like Peter, and it doesn't really feel like Spider-Man. It feels like they were trying to make, at least at the start, it felt like they
I
were
think
trying to
it's
make
like
an
it's a
Iron Man
different.
sidekick.
It's Peter Light, but it's like
Yeah,
intriguing. They did their own thing with Peter Parker. It's one of I think they maintained the spirit of Peter Parker, and they
yeah,
did their own thing in an interesting way.
yeah, sort of. And
You just don't like that they borrowed some Miles plot points, and you're like, he's literally Miles.
he does feel a lot like fucking Miles to me. Like, it's not so much that he literally is Miles, it's just he feels way too much like Miles.
And Miles
Especially,
is in this show, right? It's one of those shows where it turns into like there's two of them now.
yeah, in season 4.
Okay.
And that's what I was trying to get at with the Ultimate Green Goblin thing earlier.
Yeah, no, fuck you, by the way. If you thought this was going to be spoiler free, this is a very casual show.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna talk about everything that I know. It's because I've seen this show no less than 3
I
times.
don't want to spoil
Not
insanely
everything,
massive.
but
I don't want to spoil like massive character plot. But
I'm not going to.
Miles Morales being in the show is a spoiler that I'm
Yeah,
okay with.
yeah, Miles Morales is in the show. That's like me saying, oh, Flash Thompson is in the show. You get
Well,
what I mean?
no, because back then Miles was not as big of a deal. If you recall, like he was just starting to become a big deal back then.
Yeah, but
Like now, you'd be insane to have a Spider-Man thing and not put Miles in it. But
oh
back
yeah,
then, Miles was not an expectation.
yeah, and this was like the first time that they kind of adapt, or at least to my knowledge, aside from I think it was the original
Was this
cartoon.
the first Miles?
No, the first on-screen Miles, I think. But this is the first time since like the original cartoon, I think, that they've done a Spider-Verse story, if I'm correct.
They did a Spider-Verse story in the '90s Spider-Man show.
Sort of. It was like a proto Spider-Verse thing. It was just a
That's
bunch of
wild.
Peters. It was just a fuck ton of Peters, and I only know about this because there's that one really cool armored Spider-Man suit that I really wish would get more representation in media because Jesus Christ, did it look fucking cool. That's also where that meme comes from.
Wait, which meme?
The 3 Spider-Man meme.
Oh, oh shit!
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's a famous image.
Yeah, that is a famous image. I don't know how you didn't know where that was from.
They did a parody of that in No Way Home. It was great.
Behind the scenes, yeah.
No, they did it in the movie.
Not that I remember.
Yeah, they
I remember
did.
the behind the scenes shit, but that might just
Maybe
be because I
did
paid
they
more
do it
attention
in
to
suit behind the
shit.
scenes? Because they didn't do that.
No, they did it in suit behind the scenes.
Okay, there was a nod to it in the movie, but they were in civilian clothes. But they kind of like somebody. I think Ned says Peter, and they all kind of turn around and they're kind of pointing. So it's like, yeah, it's a reference.
That's not this. That's not what I was thinking about.
Yeah, but there is a reference to that in the movie. That was a
But yeah,
reference to that.
okay. But yeah, no, that image was from like the first time that they tried a Spider-Verse thing and they realized, holy shit, this is a genius idea. But then this is the first time I think since then that we've had, or the first show since then to actually have like a Spider-Verse plot. And then we obviously get the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, this is the first. Okay, I know. I realized your autism. I didn't mean this was the first Miles ever. I meant this is the first Miles on screen, not.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
I think this is the first Miles on screen, and he is a damn good character. Like,
wait, how? This was 2012, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
like
20...
fucking like 6 years before Spider-Verse. Got it.
So it would have been like 2016 by the time that, uh, or 2015-ish by the time season 4 came out, I think.
Okay, so only by like a year or two does it precede Spider-Verse, but like it's still the first.
Yeah. And now, okay, there's another thing that I gotta bring up because this also plays into the Miles thing and why I like this version of Miles so much. Just real
Yeah.
quick. The entirety of the Web Warriors, like as a concept, I love to fucking death because it's every like spider hero in this one universe coming together to form like a singular team. Because you've
That
got like uh Amadeus Cho as Iron Spider, you've got fucking Peter, you've got Miles Morales, you've got Flash Thompson as Agent Venom. Because yes, that's a fucking thing that most people know now.
See,
You've
it's
got
gonna be weird to key in. I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you so I don't forget. I hope you can forgive me. So it's gonna be a weird frame of mind shift that I'm gonna have to do to like really get into this show if I'm gonna give it a fair shake. And it's
yeah,
to kind of change my mindset on like how I want a Spider-Man story to be told. Because all the Spider-Man stories I really like are like super individually Peter centric in a way that I don't think this show is.
no,
Like when I see the like Spectacular Spider-Man, for example, that whole show is Peter, Peter, Peter. It's all from Peter's perspective. He's narrating to himself the whole time, which that's an interesting distinction between this show and that show. They both have that, but the difference and this is part of this too. The vibe here and the vibe shift that I have to come to understand. Another thing about this show is in Spectacular Spider-Man, Peter talks to himself, but he's talking to himself. Like
yeah,
that's the like it's inner monologue. It's not that there's no visual to it. It's just like he's talking to himself. We're getting the plot and like his perspective on things. Whereas this show, he talks to the audience. And
yeah,
sometimes he talks to himself and there's like a whole fucking visual cartoon element to him talking to himself. So it's
and I love it.
weird and
You know,
different.
it feels like okay because this comes into play in I think it's one of the
Have you
Deadpool
seen all of
episodes.
Spectacular Spider-Man?
I'm pretty sure I have. Yeah.
You acknowledge it as unbelievably amazing Kino, correct?
Yes,
Okay,
obviously. Who doesn't?
good, good,
But
good, good.
like, okay, here's my thing with the fourth wall breaks and like the cartoonish uh monologues and shit with this. Okay, I love this as a Peter Parker thing because in one of, if I remember right, in one of the Deadpool episodes, Deadpool just kind of crashes into one of the fucking monologue things, and it was like the funniest shit ever as a kid. And I was like, holy shit, I love this. And this is part of why I love Deadpool now, because of all the fucking fourth wall breaks and shit. And just talking to the audience directly. You
The
get what I
thing about
mean?
it though is like all the talk. So here's the thing about Peter talks a lot,
Yeah.
and here's where I'm at. So I'm concerned because I think he talks a little bit too much. Maybe I could get used to it. Here's how I see it. I think he talks like 20% too much. I could learn to live with that probably. But my fear is that if it gets any worse, I'm going to be out. And I don't know if it gets worse or better or stays the same.
It stays about the same, if I remember right. It doesn't get much more than this. Aside from like the one Deadpool episode where it's a lot of this.
Does he shut up a little bit sometimes?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a character. He's not always gonna be talking.
Because in this show, but in this show, I'm pretty sure, in this episode, I'm pretty sure 85% of the spoken dialogue was Peter.
Yeah,
So
it's because it's, you know, the introduction episode and they don't
that's
really
true.
have.
And I guess that's probably true in a lot of Spectacular Spider-Man, but it's just like, this one's so much more in your face. Like, it's harder to,
It's hard
it's
to
so
ignore
fucking,
because
it's so Zoomer, Phil. It's so TikTok. He's so
No.
goofy and silly and saying silly things all the time. And it's like it's fun, but it's like mentally taxing at times.
Also, I'm not sure if you noticed this, but I definitely did. Part of why I like this Peter Parker so much is he sort of he does what I like about Andrew's Peter Parker. Okay? Because
Which I've only seen in No Way Home, folks. Just so you
oh
know.
my god, Riley, you need to watch the Amazing
I've not
Spider-Man.
seen either Amazing Spider-Man films.
Okay, so I'm gonna go over this point now because this is also why I love Web Shooter so much.
I have the spoilers, so don't worry about spoiling all the Amazing
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
But okay, you know how I was talking about how the web shooters are kind of Peter's contribution into Spider-Man away from the Spider-Man persona itself?
Yeah.
Or when we were talking earlier.
Wait, so
The
do
Quips-
other? I don't think I quite understand. Do other Spider people usually have biological webs who aren't Peter?
clones do.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Like Kane does. Fucking Ben Riley typically does, unless they're trying to go for like ultra original Ben Riley. At which point, yeah, very original Ben Riley had web shooters.
Yeah, I think like the first Spider-Man thing I ever saw was the Tobey Maguire movie. So like in
Yeah.
that movie, he just shoots the web right out of his wrist, and then that became associated with Spider-Man for me. I'm a biological web guy. I'm in the minority of Spider-Man fans, I know. But the first thing I saw was Tobey Maguire, and he did the webs, and that was like I was in for that as a kid. I was like, oh, those are cool. That's a cool like unique power that he has. Is that because he's Spider-Man? He's got webs in his wrist. And then I saw that like in almost everything else, he makes webs and they're fake, and he doesn't actually have a web power. I'm like, that's lame. I want him to have a web power.
I thought that was cooler because, okay, so this is like the film nerd in me.
I don't want him to be able to run out. I want him to just have it forever because he's Spider-Man.
Despite the fact that he does run out in Spider-Man 2, but that's for a different reason.
Yeah, that's because he gets fucking spider erectile dysfunction.
He gets depresso. But anyway, but
the fact that didn't get a bigger laugh out of you means you either didn't understand it or you suck.
It wasn't. Never mind.
Fuck you.
Fuck you. But like, okay.
It's literally the whole word. Spider erectile dysfunction. Perfect.
Anyway. But okay, so
you know how the comments of spider erectile dysfunction is funny.
Don't. But so like Peter making quips outside of outside of the spider suit is something that I love seeing, just in general, because it shows that the persona of Spider-Man does have its roots in Peter Parker.
I feel like he's got to be a little bit more subdued, and he hasn't done that yet. He might get more subdued as Peter Parker later. This first episode might have just been more bombastic because it's the pilot. I don't know.
Yeah.
And
on April 1st.
That's true. But Peter, the thing about Peter is like, Peter has the Spider-Man quip energy, but he's just like a little bit more reserved because he doesn't have the tough guy suit on, so he's like a little bit more reserved. But he still has that energy. And this one is just kind of, so far he's the same guy in and out of suit. And I hope that the show kind of draws more of a distinction between the Peter persona and the Spider-Man persona going forward. And I'll be interested to see what happens there.
Yeah, and that I can see that. Like, there being a distinction is important too. But I also like when they cross.
Spectacular Spider-Man did this perfectly. He still has that sass, but he's not doing Spider-Man. He's just like he's just a kid who's a little sarcastic.
Yeah. But like, so the quips bleeding over into the Peter persona, I love as a like character distinction with the two. And then like the web shooters being Peter's contribution into the Spider persona, I also love. You get what I mean?
Yes.
Like, that's why I like web shooters so much, because they are a physical like distinction between, did Spider-Man make this or did Peter make this? because Spider-Man has all the powers and is doing all of this, and then Peter is, the nerdy kid who's good at robotics and, all
You
of that
see,
shit.
the thing about me is like Spider-Verse shit, besides the movie being the one, except I didn't even watch the second one. I watched the
I
first
watched the
one and it was
second
really
one.
good. I watched like part of the second one, and then here's what happened. Here's literally what happened. This is like the lost opportunity. This was like my final opportunity to do a podcast with Kathy, and I squandered it. The last time me and Kathy ever planned to record a thing before she disappeared was we were literally going to review Spider-Verse 2.
But like I love when there's like crossover between Peter versus Spider-Man because they are effectively two characters.
It's gotta
If
be.
that makes sense.
It's got. They're two characters, but they're one. And I also I really like when there's still reminders that they're one, but you gotta curb him a little.
Yeah. And this is something that I at least think needs to be prevalent in like any superhero with a secret identity, basically. There needs to be some bleed over. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like Superman, you can't just have, journalist Clark Kent and Superman. You have to have like some bleed over with, the two. And this is something
I feel like I've never really experienced a secret identity that felt like Peter Parker and Spider-Man. I don't know. I don't know. You're more of a nerd, so maybe you can sell it to me that other secret identities are like that. But that's really the only one that I've ever felt like these are basically two different guys.
the only other one that I personally think is this like on the same like level basically is, Clark Kent and Superman.
No,
Because those
I
are
think Clark Kent is literally Superman, but it's just like Superman. All Superman has to do is not show his muscles, and then suddenly everybody just thinks he's a fucking pencil pusher. But he's still the same guy. He's still just like, hey, look at me. I'm a guy, and I'm just really nice, and I like other people, and I'm very nice and sociable. But he just puts the glasses on,
that's
and everybody
not how
thinks he's
you
a normal
write
guy.
Clark Kent.
How do you write Clark Kent then? That's all. That's all. Is every time I've seen a Clark Kent,
Yeah,
that's
because
it.
I don't think there has been really a good Clark Kent
Clark Kent
in
was like that in My Adventures with Superman, and you like that show, and I like
aside
that
like
show.
even no, he was way fucking like okay. Yes, he was likable, but he also had okay. You know how Peter has the nerd shit
Clark and
himself?
Superman were the same guy in My Adventures with Superman.
First off, they were just Clark because Superman hadn't been created as a persona yet.
Oh, okay. It's just Clark and Clark without the glasses and a suit. Got it.
Yeah, yeah, that's what My Adventures with Superman is. There's a okay.
Wait, no,
There,
somebody makes up the name Superman. I don't know if it's him, but somebody makes up the name Superman in like episode 1.
yeah, somebody makes up the name. That doesn't mean the persona has set in yet.
He starts calling himself Superman by episode like 3.
No, what I mean is like when you're
Oh,
first
like
starting
he
out,
doesn't have like the knowledge of like Krypton and stuff. Like it's like,
he
is that
hasn't
what you
built up
mean?
the persona of
Okay.
Superman yet. He doesn't have like the okay. Best way I can put this is you know how actors can play multiple different characters at once or like
Yes.
around the same time? Think about it like that, okay? Because Clark is like, Kal-El's specific like human acting job, and then Superman is his superhero acting job, if that makes sense. They are two different characters. Superman is this stoic, mighty, like God amongst men, super Boy Scout, that guy. Clark Kent is the nerdy journalist
I feel
who
like
kind of
Superman doesn't really act like a god though. I feel like he's just in both forms he's a Boy Scout.
he
Like
is still
it's
no. That's the carryover that I'm talking about. He is a Boy Scout in
but
both.
that's what he is. That's him. He's the Boy Scout. That's his character. He's a soft little boy who just has a lot of compassion for the world around him, And when he finds out that he has amazing superpowers that will allow him to protect them, he does that naturally because it's his inclination, because he's a caring guy. He's just a Boy Scout. He's a kind little Boy Scout man who happens to have the power to fucking murder space aliens who can eat planets.
Okay. Clark, in his position at the Daily Bugle, or not the Daily Bugle, the Daily Planet, is not necessarily the same Clark that, Ma and Pa Kent would see. Because, yeah, Ma and Pa Kent would see that. Most people at the Daily Planet, yeah, he's nice, but it's just, he sticks to himself mostly, aside from, like, Lois and Jimmy. You get what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough, I suppose.
Like, he isn't this outgoing. He isn't
I think that's the ultimate thing with those identities is like a lot of secret identities. I think the story they're telling is like they come out of their shell when they're behind the mask, as it were. Like Spider-Man's like a little nerd boy, so he kind of has to keep to himself a little when in the school halls. But when he's Spider-Man, he can just fucking fire his mouth off all day long, and it doesn't matter.
Say whatever the fuck he wants, and that's part of the benefit of being a podcaster who hasn't shown your face.
Have you not shown your face?
Not on any of this shit.
I feel like has there been like a picture of your face that was like in a thumbnail that you approved? I feel like we've posted your face.
No,
with your consent.
There was never one of my face. There was like the issue crew like art of my face.
Oh yeah, I guess I got your face for that, but I don't know if I don't think we ever posted it. Yeah, okay.
It was just the art, and like, yeah, sure, they can try and guess what I look like, but first off, most of that was fucking artistic license anyway.
Well, I do I do a whole camera show so people know how much of a fat retard I am.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've been talking about like the grand implications of this show. We haven't really talked about this episode.
Yeah, we haven't talked
that
about
much.
This episode in so we're like what, an hour in now?
Yeah, this one is going to be really long. I imagine these are probably going to be like there'll be like kind of boring episodes probably, I'm going to imagine, and those will probably be like 30-minute podcasts. And then like the juicy ones will probably be long like this.
Yeah. But, okay, so I'm gonna go into the basic plot of this episode, for the most part. Just real quick, so we can get into talking about that. Unless you want to go over the cast first, real quick.
Yeah, real quick. All the characters that got introduced in this episode. Give us the main characters who, I don't know if you're going to be able to look up every voice in this episode conveniently. But
I figure up my fucking laptop.
I don't want to make you do that. Just like the main characters and like characters that got introduced in this episode with notable voice actors that you know of.
I know. I still need to pull up my fucking laptop because I don't know who voices Harry.
Oh, okay. And you really want to know that? I got you.
I really want to know who voices Harry. I know who voices Peter. I know who voices MJ, and I know who voices Nick Fury, but I don't know who voices Harry.
Yeah, so Peter is Drake Bell.
Drake Bell, obviously. That's part of why.
That's one of the infamous. One of the reasons the show is infamous. But we'll see. We'll see how he does. We're not talking about him. We're talking about the Spider-Man that he plays.
So MJ is played by
MJ is Tara Strong, right?
Yeah, the infamous, perfect, fucking Tara Strong, and
you're not saying you wanted to talk about her tits and then you backed out.
No, I did not.
I think you were about to say she had perfect tits as a joke, and then you backed out. I think that's what happened.
No, I lost my train of thought. Okay.
There was a viral TikTok where her tits looked much larger than you usually see them in pictures, and it was like, what the hell?
Yeah. Oh, shit. Holy fuck. Okay. Flash Thompson, Harry Osborn, Ulysses Claw are all played by the same fucking dude.
Who is it?
Matt Lanter.
Who has he played?
Flash Thompson, Harry Osborn, and Ulysses Claw.
No, but like, who has he played other than that? Man. Look at his
I'm trying to.
filmography.
My laptop's fucking being slow.
Okay.
Oh, he was in 90210.
Okay.
Apparently.
Well, I don't know him from that, but that's interesting that that's true.
I know him from that. I do recognize him.
What is he voiced in? I assume Ultimate Spider-Man not his only voice act. Wait,
Yeah.
did they cast like were they casting like all of their voices? Bro, dude, holy shit. Fan theory? I think they literally were like, who are a bunch of actors we can hire who were in sitcoms? Because they hired Drake Bell, Drake and Josh, obviously. They hired this guy who's in what show did you just say?
90210.
90210, but more of like a drama, but also there's some comedy in there. Fucking, there was one more that was really glaring. Fuck, who was the other sitcom actor in this show? Oh, Will Friedle. Will Friedle, who's in Boy Meets World, is in this show. I don't know if he's in this episode or in the show yet or at all anytime soon, but I know he's in it.
He is not in it until Deadpool. Or until Deadpool shows up. I don't think.
Is he Deadpool?
Yeah, he's Deadpool.
Holy shit, that's a good cast. But
that's what I was telling you earlier because we were talking about like.
Okay, I thought he was in the show already. I thought honestly, I heard that Will Friedle was in the show. I just like drew the conclusion that he voiced Iron Fist. So I was surprised to learn that I was wrong. I just assumed that. I guessed that and just assumed it was right for a long time.
No, Iron Fist is voiced by the guy who voices Beast Boy.
Ah, okay.
That's what I was trying to get into, but he hasn't shown up in this episode, so I can't talk about it. So you're gonna get a whole rant about that on the next episode.
That's fair. I kind of thought 90210 was a sitcom, and I got too excited with my fan theory. But like, I mean, they're casting for comedy, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
But I just thought it was interesting that like multiple sitcoms I used to watch as a kid have representation in this cast.
Matt Lanter also voices in a bunch of the New 52 movies that are out. I don't know who he voices.
What, like the DC animated movies?
Yeah, Crisis on Infinite Earths, Part 1 and 2, Throne of Atlantis, Death of Superman, The Death and Return of Superman, some Lego stuff with Disney. He was apparently in Grey's Anatomy. He was in a Tinkerbell movie, which I find very funny. I'm looking at like what his voice acting credits are. He was in Star Wars: The Clone Wars. He was in Mystery Incorporated, and he was in Star Wars: Tales of the Jedi that I've never heard of.
Okay.
But yeah, and then he was in this. So yeah, I vibe with this man.
And there's a big voice actor you've yet to mention.
I haven't gotten to him yet. I was gonna do Nick Fury first.
Oh, I forgot about him. Who'd voiced him?
If the fucking tab will load, I can tell you.
Jesus.
Because I was on a different tab looking at Matt Lanter's shit. But Nick Fury is voiced by Chi McBride, who gives like the perfect voice energy.
What has he been in? I feel like I recognize him.
Hell. You know my fucking laptop's being slow. We can't.
God damn it, you fuck. I need to know things.
He was in Better Call Saul.
Okay, who did he play in that?
Hold on, let me finish. He was in Better Call Saul presents Slippin' Jimmy.
Oh.
He was in Max Steel. He was in Phineas and Ferb. He was in a Lego.
Who playing that?
I'm fucking looking.
Phineas and Ferbifer. Ferbstifer.
Fuck, I'm looking.
I thought it would say, like on the page, it would be like he was in Phineas and Ferb as this guy.
Not on this. It just gives me like what shows he was in. He was also in Hawaii Five-0, which is really funny, and Suits.
I just
and
like
How I Met Your Mother.
He sounds so familiar, but I might be wrong. I was trying to guess who he was. The only guy I could guess was he wasn't the guy who voiced Chef in Total Drama Island, was he?
I do not see him listed on Total Drama, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's probably not. That was my only guess. I was like, I feel like this guy's voice is familiar. Was it that guy? It was not that guy. I've probably
He
heard him
was
in other
in
things.
Butthead. He was in How We Roll. This Is Us. He was somehow in Puppy Dog Pals, which is really funny. Uh, he was in Avengers Assemble, Hulk and the Agents of Smash, the Fury Files. Oh, he also played Nick Fury in Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, my favorite Avengers cartoon of all time.
Yeah, Disney XD kind of had like a consistent voice cast for the Marvel characters, right?
Yeah.
Like Drake Bell's Spider-Man and like the Phineas and Ferb crossover and all the other stuff, and like I think the Avengers have the same voice cast even when they did two different shows, right?
Yeah.
Because they did Earth's Mightiest Heroes and they did Avengers Assemble, and that was the same voice cast, correct?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Oh, he was in Waiting.
What?
Yeah, this guy was in Waiting.
Okay.
He played Bishop in Waiting.
Holy shit. Maybe that's where I remember him from. I knew that voice sounded familiar. Maybe it was from Waiting.
Yeah, he was Bishop. I don't know if you remember Bishop, but I do remember his face being there. He was also in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air as Ed Barker.
Interesting.
I'm looking for more shit that you might know.
But no, I'm getting the vibe. We're good. We're good. Move on.
Yeah, like he fits. I like him. He gives like the perfect vibe.
No, yeah, he's a very good Nick Fury. I was just trying to figure out if I knew him, but I don't care. Keep going.
Okay, and then we get to J. Jonah Jameson. The one,
Ooh,
the only J.K. fucking Simmons.
they
I
got
don't
him for this?
blame him.
How?
I don't know, but they got it. They didn't just get him for this. They also got him for fucking Invincible. So it's probably that fucking Disney and Amazon money that got him.
No, because Disney was not shelling out money for fucking Ultimate Spider-Man. They were paying kids show wages for that shit. Invincible is like a huge, like, adult show published on Amazon. That's like a bigger deal. So I understand you get celebrity voice cast for that because it's Amazon money. It's Disney, but it's a Disney kids show. So they are not shelling out the big bucks.
Also, if what I have read is to be believed, which I could be completely wrong about this, I've heard from somewhere that J.K. Simmons just loves playing J. Jonah Jameson for some reason, and will take it at like every opportunity. As far as I'm aware, J.K. Simmons has taken up every opportunity he's been given to play J. Jonah Jameson, and so I remember reading somewhere that JJJ just kind of loves, or excuse me, J.K. Simmons just loves playing J. Jonah Jameson, and will take
Yes.
every fucking opportunity because that's why
And
he's been the same guy in every Spider-Man thing since 2000 and what one
well, no,
when
there was a gap for some time, which is unfortunate. The voice actor they got for Spectacular Spider-Man was good, but it was not J.K. Simmons. Um, and then they got him for this, and then they got him for the MCU. So
and I'm pretty
he's
sure
big J.
there
Jonah
was a
Jameson now.
cameo in. Hold on, I'm pretty sure there was a cameo in Amazing Spider-Man of JJJ played by J.K. Simmons. Hold on.
I didn't know about that. If that's true.
I'm checking. I don't remember. Never mind. I was wrong. I was wrong.
Okay.
I don't know what the fuck I was thinking about. He was played by David White in The Amazing Spider-Man, so I don't know. Wait, that's not what I'm looking for.
No.
That's
Anyway,
the that's
this
the
episode, we gotta fucking pick it up here.
We're almost done. There's not much else to go over.
Did the clocks just no? Ignore me.
Yeah, we've been going for 58 minutes. Anyway,
For some reason, I thought it was 11:11 when we started, and not 12:11. And I
no,
was
we
like,
started at
did we just have a
12:11.
time skip? Is it like spring forward and I didn't know?
No, that was a while ago.
Okay.
Anyway, those are all of the ones that I really want to go over because I don't want to go over who Dr. Octopus is until he actively makes more of an appearance. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
But onto like the plot of this episode. So, you know, Spider-Man's doing Spider-Man things. He's been doing this for about a year. He goes in and ends up in a fight with the Trapster.
The fucking Okay. Crow, you're a nerd. You know things. Who are the villains of this episode? Are they anything? Are they important?
Important? No. Anything? Probably.
So besides the big ones, obviously, I'm talking the Furious Four or whatever the fuck. Who are they?
I have no fucking clue.
Okay, so they're not like a thing.
They're not to my knowledge, not something like super.
Is the Trapster a thing?
The Trapster is a common Spider-Man villain. I do know that, but I don't know shit about it.
The Trapster.
I know he shows up.
That's like that's close to as goofy as the Wall to me.
The Wall is fucking amazing. Fuck you,
bro. They should no. It's so goofy it loops back around to being amazing. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If the Wall isn't in this show, they failed.
They did not put the Wall in the show, to my knowledge.
They failed.
They have failed. I agree. They have failed. But so you know, Spider-Man's doing Spider-Man things, trying to get to school, trying to pick up a cake. He forgets the cake, honestly, but that's not really important. After his fight with the Trapster, Peter's caused way too fucking much property damage. Nick Fury decides to come down and offer him a job. Peter does not immediately take it, but does steal Nick Fury's web shooter.
Base.
Which was the most base thing and my favorite design for web shooters, period. Then at Midtown, you know, they go about some shit. Flash shows up, shoves Peter in a fucking locker. Peter just takes it. Then we get our Stan Lee cameo of the episode.
That's true.
We get a lot of Stan Lee in this show. I hope you're ready for it.
Is it actually him doing the lines? If there's a lot of them? Okay.
Yeah, that's Stan.
I'm surprised. He does cameo, like he does like a line forever, but it's like one or two lines. I'm surprised he cameos like multiple times in this cartoon show.
Dude, he's in like every other fucking episode.
That's wild.
He's here just about every time that they're at the fucking high school. I'm not even kidding.
I do like that Stan Lee. I miss that guy just because he decided that he was the king of cameos and just cameoed in literally everything.
Oh yeah.
I liked cheap meta humor will get me sometimes. I did like the joke where he's in the Teen Titans Go movie. And he's like, I don't care that this is a DC movie. I love cameos.
That's such a fucking Stan Lee thing to do, honestly. But then we cut to Midtown. Peter is doing Peter things, getting bullied by Flash, trying to hang out with MJ and Harry. Say the line.
Wait, which line?
The one about Harry.
Oh, he has the fucking Chad Jaw line. He has the Chad Jaw.
Riley and I were watching this, and he like took a fucking pause just to point out that Harry has a fucking Chad jawline.
I've never seen them portray Harry as this much of a Chad.
Harry is a Chad.
He's got a Chad voice. He's got the Chad jaw. He's a fucking jaw.
You are in fact correct.
It's a weird thing to do for Harry. I've always known Harry as kind of like a little guy.
Yeah, because that's Harry. But
this one is a Chad.
Yeah, he's a Chad.
Like a fucking jock ass, Chad ass guy. It's weird.
Yeah, it is pretty weird. But so they go about their day. They end up in the lunchroom, and then the Frightful Four attack. I'm sorry, I don't like these guys.
I kind of like the Wizard. The other two I just like forgot about.
Like the Trapster and the Wizard are like the only ones that had any actual impact.
Oh, there was Sound Blaster guy, the Claw.
Oh, that was Claw, who is a fucking Black Panther villain.
Interesting.
Huh?
I said interesting.
I don't know why the fuck he was there. That had me fucking confused because he is like well known for being a Black Panther villain. He's like one of the big bads of the first Black Panther movie. Riley,
Yeah,
you remember the white guy that they
I didn't watch Black
kidnapped?
Panther.
You didn't watch Black Panther?
No,
Go watch more MCU movies.
no,
Go watch more MCU movies.
maybe, but probably not.
Anyway, never mind. Claw is a Black Panther villain, and it's weird that he's here. I don't know the other two. They could, or the other one, she could matter less for all I give a shit. They attack the school, and they know Spider-Man's there because Trapster put a fucking tracker on him. Trapster with a tracker.
Damn it. Trapster tracker time, getting this again.
Peter then starts a food fight because fuck it. Fuck the villains, I guess. Like, they're gonna have their fucking shit covered in school cafeteria food. I'm sorry, that's like the biggest sign of disrespect I've ever seen. Like, you're gonna come into a school, nah, you're not taking this shit over. Fucking food fight, bitch.
Yeah.
That's some shit I'd pull.
That was quick. That was quick thinking. That was good. I like that.
That was fucking amazing. Then Peter ends up climbing a fucking pillar in the middle of the school cafeteria, somehow not getting any attention to the fact that he's sticking on a wall in the middle of a food fight. And he ends up, getting into his costume, finding the tracker, removing it, and they fight, yada yada. He beats their asses. He is saved after, a lot more fucking destruction or property damage. And here's where Riley has. I'm gonna go into like I'm gonna call it a C plot, basically, because it was not long enough to be a B plot. After we go over this, Riley,
Yeah, what's up?
are we gonna talk about how they were willing to catch murder charges on a bunch of high schoolers, but they weren't gonna catch charges for killing cops?
Yeah. So they end up fleeing at the end because they aren't getting paid to fight cops, but they were willing to. So there's no witnesses. Kill every single person inside of that high school.
Well, okay. Not so much that they weren't or were gonna kill every person in the high school. They were gonna try and kill Spider-Man.
No, they
The only
literally they
person who
talked
said
about
the
they
only
talked
person who
about
wanted to
witnesses.
kill the only person who wanted to get rid of the witnesses was Doc Ock.
Okay, but I think the idea there was like that's an order they could give and they would listen. Because they didn't tell them go fight the cops.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't have died. I think any order they give, any order Doc Ock gives, they would listen to. Meaning if Doc Ock was like, maybe we should just have him kill everyone, they probably would have killed everyone.
Yeah, probably. But I also have my belief in some villains, and
that would be a pretty. I wonder if there's like an Invincible-esque, like super dark ass, like superhero indie comic that starts that way. Because that's a good like an Invincible subversion. Because like the normal trope that you understand and you've come to know suddenly becomes very bloody and gory and disgusting and realistic.
Yeah.
Like because there's always like there's a superhero in high school and then the supervillain shows up at the high school and he's like, I know you're out there. Just have like on like the superhero's like second week on the job, his high school gets like its entire attendance murdered by a supervillain looking for him brutally.
Yeah. That's how fucking Invincible should have started anyway. So Peter ends up fighting these motherfuckers. MJ shows a surprising amount of agency in not being a damsel in distress this episode.
Oh yeah, she's doing good this episode.
Like, yeah, I love the fact that MJ
I will say I don't know how I feel about this angle of Peter Parker having 0.00% romantic interest in Mary Jane currently. I imagine I imagine that flip switch, why do I always do that? That switch flips eventually. But I wonder how they're gonna do it at this point because it's like he's repulsed by the idea of kissing her now.
Okay,
They like kissed on the in the schoolyard when they were like 10 and they were like ew,
12,
and he still thinks it's ew.
12, but yeah. And part of me is like, okay, yeah, I could see it, but with how little Gwen Stacy is in this show,
That
the
makes me honestly, it's so weird. Given the Spectacular Spider-Man is such a cornerstone for me for animated Spider-Man content, that the childhood friend girl character is Mary Jane and not Gwen Stacy.
that's comic accurate.
I don't read the comics. That I'm really my most my most familiar the deepest I get into the character dynamics of like the classic comic characters that aren't really focused on as much in the movies is Spectacular Spider-Man. So I know Gwen Stacy is the childhood friend. I know Harry is a little fucking curly nerdy kid.
Yeah,
And I know Mary Jane as the new kid in town who Peter, based on Mary Jane's description, thought was going to be ugly, and then she was super hot. And then she didn't want to date him because she was an independent woman who didn't need no man.
yeah. Now, what I'm going to say is they kind of flipped the script on you. Okay, MJ's always been like the girl next door type character for Peter,
Mm.
and this is like my one gripe. Is,
That's kind of
like,
that feels
like
accurate because like Girl Next Door kind of implies. I feel like maybe you're using Girl Next Door different. I feel like Girl Next Door implies like a crush that already exists. So
I
like
mean, yeah,
so Mary Jane's the girl next door in that like she's the girl that he knows who he's like in love with. Gwen
yeah.
Stacy's like the childhood friend where
No, no,
like
no,
the love comes up later. Like
no,
they're friends and they're cool and they're homies and then they grow those teenage hormones and they're like, wait a minute.
no. What I was getting at is MJ's been around since he was a fucking kid. Gwen's kind of normally the new chick.
Okay, so they flip it.
Yeah, they flip it. That's what I was getting at.
That's weird. I'm so used to Spectacular Spider-Man Gwen Stacy. That's like the only Gwen Stacy that I'm deeply familiar with.
And then, like, I've been telling you about Arachnid for a while, and I told you that I was going to pull more so from the comics. I did not think you would.
I don't want to talk about
Yeah,
your fucking Spider-Man fan fiction.
no, let
Ban.
me
That's the one
finish
and
my
only
let
time we
me
ever
finish
mention
for a
it.
second.
Okay.
I was saying I didn't even think about the fact that you probably didn't know that Gwen was normally the new kid, so you were probably expecting me to have her be like a main character throughout the first couple of
I had
seasons.
no idea what you were gonna do, and so we're moving on.
Yeah, we're done. On to like the I'm calling it a C plot because it's not big enough for a B plot. Of oh god, or Norman Osborn's a bad guy. Oh no, of course he is. And I like Doc Ock. I like Doc Ock's design,
Who
but
voiced him?
who voiced Doc Ock? Can I pull up
Because
the
that voice did sound familiar.
I hope you can recognize it off of the name alone,
Hopefully, probably not, but hopefully.
because fuck. Hopefully you can recognize it off of the name alone, because I'm not googling it or googling who they play,
You bitch.
because fucking hell, he is played by Tom Kenny,
Okay, yeah,
who
I
also
know that
plays
one.
Wizard in
Ah,
this.
okay. Oh yeah, that is Tom Kenny. I should have noticed that.
Yeah,
I knew I recognized that voice. I should have put that together.
yeah. I was just waiting on it to fucking because I forgot his name for a second, but I do know who Tom Kenny is.
Ah!
But yeah, like Doc Ock isn't very prominent in this episode, but he is cool, I guess. At least Doc Ock starts out really cool, but then towards the end, I don't like Doc Ock at the end of the series.
It's weird that he's like a zombie guy. He's not. I know he's not actually a zombie guy, but it's weird that he looks like one.
It's weird that they made him a Nazi.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, no, he ends up with like a Hydra logo on his fucking chest.
Okay, he works for Hydra. That's the when you say like Nazi, it has to be like really he's working for Hitler. Okay, like Earth X had Nazis. Hydra doesn't count.
Red Skull is like very much a fucking Nazi. If the Joker punches him in the face for being a Nazi, Red Skull's a fucking Nazi.
No, yeah, I don't agree. I don't disagree that in terms of his conduct, that Red Skull is comparable to a Nazi.
So, no, it's not comparable to a Nazi. Dude is a fucking Nazi.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Comparable as in like similarities there.
No, Red Skull is a fucking Nazi. He was in World War II fighting.
But it's like different though.
Party. No,
it's fucking fiction. A lot of comparisons, okay? Fuck off. Don't fucking micromanage my language, you bitch.
I'm telling you, Red Skull is a fucking Nazi. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
But he's not part... Nazi is a political party that he's not in. He's in Hydra.
Which was a subsection of the Nazi party originally.
Really? They say that outright?
Yes.
Okay, then maybe it is. It seems weird.
I'm trying to tell you this.
They don't have the swastika.
Stop telling
you. They have a different symbol, right?
Yeah, they have a different fucking symbol, but Hydra initially started under the Nazi party. And
I mean, yeah, I believe
Red Skull was like the right-hand man of fucking Hitler himself.
I'll give up. Liberals surrender hands.
Red Skull's a fucking Nazi. Working for Hydra makes you a Nazi. That's why Captain America is so on their ass.
So true.
The fact you didn't know this is disappointing. You need to watch the Captain America movies?
Maybe I do.
Because that's where I learned this shit from. Okay, so I think that's about everything. I think. I'm running out of things.
Running all out of things. Okay. So I meant to discuss with you before the show, and then I didn't, so we have to discuss it now.
Okay.
We have to have some sort of ranking system, and I have a pitch. But we have to have an understanding, and I don't know if we're capable of it. We have to be honest with ourselves. So the idea I have, instead of Megazord Radio, where we have to endlessly argue for every ranking, and then we have to like sell it off to each other, and one of us feels hopeless about the other getting their way every time. The system that I would put in place would have that sometimes, but not all the time, in that it would be the episodes are ranked based on ratings out of 20 that are combined ratings out of 10. And the only time we have to agree on rankings is if there's a tie.
So like you're doing with Mo's show. Or not Mo's
yes,
show.
But I wanted to explain that specific mechanic of if there is a tie where two episodes get the same amount of points, we do have to decide which one goes above the other. There is a hierarchy.
Yeah.
So there's no ranking to be done, but there is a rating to be given and a ranking to begin. It will be number 1 out of 1
until next week.
What'd you say?
I said at least until the next episode, probably. Maybe.
Yeah. No, I actually didn't hear it. I realize now that you said next week. I have like delayed hearing. Sometimes it's one of my weird things.
I didn't mean next week. I meant next episode.
Yeah, next episode.
Because
hopefully, like when we're feeling motivated about this, we'll pop out more than one a week. But then we'll probably like stop for multiple weeks at a time.
Yeah,
is my prediction on how that's gonna happen.
Yeah, probably. So we're both out of 10?
Out of 10, yes.
Okay.
And we can do favorite character and favorite scene as well, because that's standard.
Yeah. What's your rating?
Well, we're supposed to do favorite character and scene first, I think.
Yeah. Favorite character. Fucking MJ. No question about it. Fucking MJ.
I'm thinking about it. I'm considering.
There's a couple.
I kind of want to give it to Peter this episode. I do appreciate this might be the most Spider-Man it gets the whole time because he's joining a team now. So
yeah, I get that.
This is a very classic Peter Spider-Man story that ends with him making a sacrifice that I guess not like a sacrifice of his dignity, I suppose, or of his pride to join this team when he realizes that it will help him keep people safer. And it's an arc of him like coming to terms with something about himself. That's Peter Parker, and I'm concerned this show is going to have shockingly little of that.
I'm not gonna say much on that front because I remember there being
there's so many other guys that
there's so many other guys, but they still managed to work in like a lot of Peter Parker being Peter Parker, at least per my memory. But
I guess more on this as it develops.
I'm sticking with MJ for this strictly for 3 reasons.
Wait, should we? No, this is stupid. I think there's only one answer to this, but I feel like you might try to argue with me. And I think we have to bring it up because I think you might be assuming that it's the other way.
Okay.
When we say Peter is our favorite character, are we saying that Peter and Spider-Man are different guys, or is that one entry?
One entry.
Okay, thank God.
Yeah, of course.
I just wanted to make sure. I wanted to make sure you were going to be like, they're different guys, so that we're going to do different.
No, that's stupid. Okay, my thing with is it's like an actor, not like 2 separate actual characters. You get what I mean?
That's fair. It seems like a lot of people. It's a weird middle area between the two, but like a lot of people interpret it in like the most psychotic way possible, where it's literally like a complete split personality disorder.
No, they are the same guy, but it's like a guy putting on a mask.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Literally is that. But here's my thing with MJ. Okay, 1, she's played by Tara Strong. Of course, I'm gonna like that. 2, this is probably the like most agency MJ gets for a while, at least in terms of what she's gonna do in like fights like this. For the most
so her kicking a jello at a villain is the most she's gonna do for 2 seasons.
Not 2 seasons, but you get what I mean. Like, there's not a lot of MJ at all.
Yeah, because we have fucking 5 heroes to focus on instead of 1, like it should be.
But like, I like the other guys. You'll see what I mean when we get to them. But I like the other guys. But I like MJ being like her own character and having like some amount of agency to what she does, if that makes sense. And her actively helping in the fight instinctively is a little nod to something that happens way fucking down the line, and I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
You'll see what I mean if we ever make it to season 4, if we ever do. But yeah, MJ is my favorite character of this episode in particular. Peter is a very close second, though.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Peter.
Yeah. Favorite scene?
I feel like that's gonna be a hard question to answer in these little 22-minute episodes.
I'm gonna have to say when Nick Fury takes out the Trapster, whatever his name is. Like
that's a pretty good one. I might give it to Food Fight because I like clever solving of like issues like this.
But so I'm also tossing in when Nick Fury gives him the web shooter.
That's good. That's good
because
too.
I'm putting that in with that same scene because because those are like
those are 2 different scenes.
Those are very close together.
No, they're not. You're remembering the show wrong if you think those 2 are very close together. They might be only a couple minutes apart, but the plot is in a radically different place by the time we get there.
No, because hold on. When do you think I'm talking about? Because I'm talking about when fucking Peter goes, "How ultimate is ultimate?" after getting the fucking web shooter, and Nick Fury pulls out his fucking gun, shoots the damn flagpole, and knocks out fucking
This
Trap.
conversation might end on a cliffhanger. Do you remember what I said? Because I don't anymore.
You said food fight.
Yes. No, that's after that. Because the villains attack the school after Peter and Nick's original meeting.
Yeah, I know.
And it's when the villains attack the school that they say food fight.
I'm saying my favorite scene is the web shooter thing and Nick taking out Trapkeeper. That's one scene.
Oh, I thought you were saying
Oh,
it was one. I thought you were saying it was one scene with the school scene, and I was like, "What are you fucking talking about?"
A completely different fucking thing. I was saying the entirety of the Nick Fury scene.
Fair enough.
That's my favorite scene. You and I have two different answers. Yours and my answers are not the same. Okay, so now we have to rate it. I want to know what yours is first.
You know, I'm gonna say solid premiere. I like the animation. I think it's funny, but it can get annoying. And so I think that kind of docks it a couple points. It's far from perfect, but it was a really enjoyable pilot. That being said, I hope the show gets better. So to kind of grade on a scale, I'm not going to give it an insanely high score, but it's still going to be decently high because I'm always so generous. It's a 7.5 is what I'm going to say.
I was going to say an 8, so yeah, we're about even with that.
7.5 and an 8, so that's 15.5 out of 20.
Yep, that's a pretty good score.
Let me actually make the document, write that down before we stop so I don't forget. Number 1 out of 1. This is called Great Power, right?
Yep. I went ahead and put it in the chat so that you wouldn't forget to.
15.5 out of 20. Okay, we got it.
So, yeah.
So next episode is Great Responsibility, correct? Crazy.
Yep.
See what they did there, guys? You get it?
You get the pun?
They're doing a funny. They're doing a little joke.
Yep.
Yeah, see you next time for episode 2, where we get to meet all the other people that we're going to focus on instead of Spider-Man.
Including Spider-Man.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.